There she is.
Sorry. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Have everybody?
I think we do.
The board members? Awesome. Okay. So we will reconvene to open session and call to order at, hang on, 6:01. Great. And I just want to remind everybody that we are recording this at the direction of the board, and it may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. So just everybody be aware. And then we want to report out what happened in closed session. In closed session, the Board of Trustees took action to issue a notice of non-reelection to one probationary, sorry, I don't have my reading glasses, certificate employee pursuant to Education Code Section 44929-21, effective at the end of the 2021 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. The roll call vote was as follows. In favor, 5, no, 0, abstention, 0. So that is what happened in closed session. And 3.3 attendance roll call, President Elkishan here, Clerk Lopez Jones.
Here.
Trustee Maxfield.
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Here.
Trustee Rothberg Allen.
Here.
Student Representative Rubio.
Here.
Great. So just remember, everybody, I know it's hard when we get into the motion of the meeting, but you have to unmute and you have to answer everything as board members so it's audible and it can be in the recording. Okay, so we'll let Paula share her screen. Try to unmute for the pledge. Okay, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Just want to check in with Erin and make sure there's no changes on the agenda tonight.
There are not. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thanks, Indira. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay, 3.6, our district mission statement. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. And then we move into 4.1. Public business for the floor on the non-agendized items. Do we have anything, Paula, today?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and just ask one more time. No comment on non-agendized items? Okay, all right, then we're going to pass by that and we're going to go right into information and discussion. So we'll start with 5.1. Discussion of posthumous recognition for community members. And I'll let Erin start off on why we wanted to put that in to discuss.
Yeah, with the recent passing of both Jean Duffy and Lil Tyson, I have had several community members and actually a former student also ask whether or not the board was interested in doing some kind of recognition for those two community members, since they were so dedicated to the district and to students in the past. So it's up to the board. You can do anything you would like to do within reason. And I just need direction for staff.
And Erin, is this something that we have to decide today, or can we go back and forth a little bit on it?
You can. You can
then,
brainstorm
okay.
ideas tonight, and I can bring it back for action at the next meeting if you would like.
Okay. You know, I just want to call on Jeff a bit because Jeff's been probably had the longest tenure, starting with being a student here, and then also Rudy, just to kind of talk to both of those people's historic contribution to the district, because really it was huge on both of their parts. And the reason I want you to say a little something is I think we should really do something significant. So.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see maybe a plaque or something at the gym for Gene. I mean, Gene was so involved with the school for so many years, even when I was a kid. Yeah, he was a photographer for the paper for years. I mean, on his own time, taking pictures of the kids, basketball, football, all sorts of things. I mean, he was a community fixture. And then Lil Tyson, who I actually knew when I was just out of high school, when they came to town, they started the CEF. Lil and Susan Shaw and some of those Calistoga parents started the CEF way back when. And I mean, it's grown into such a big thing now. We don't have the big parties anymore, but we've got an endowment that got built up that funds the things for the kids. So, I mean, they're both stellar people in the community. They did so much for the school. And Rudy, Gene from years back.
Yeah, yes, I know Gene. He was a great guy, and when I heard the news, I got people calling me to just ask me if it was true because they couldn't believe it, and just former students. A lot of them I had a couple of them call me, and they just it was sad to hear, but yeah, he was always there for the school, even when I was in school, and I remember always supporting the football, the boosters, everything. So yeah.
Yeah, and then isn't Lil also responsible for the funky blanket, which is kind of a...
No, that's
No?
Donna Dill.
Oh, okay, Donna Dill. Okay, well, still, yeah, okay. I'm confusing her because she had funkies, but no, I think that every great school community the foundation is those type of people. So, I mean, I feel like we definitely should do something significant. Definitely something for Gene in relation to the gym and something that's going to be there.
Yeah.
So
that'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that his involvement with his other two brothers and Duffy's, I mean, until they got sold a few years ago, were humongous contributors to the school in everything, whether it was grad night, just everything they could contribute to, they did. So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Well, they sponsored the Duffy basketball tournament every year, and the kids got T-shirts. Kids always love getting T-shirts.
Yeah. So do we want to kind of give Aaron the direction of maybe doing something very permanent at the school, and we can come back with a few ideas in a future meeting?
I'd like to see a plaque for Gene.
Okay. All right. I agree. Does anybody else have any comments? No? Rudy?
I don't know, something. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I think we should just come back and just see what ideas we can come up with, and then address it later.
Okay. No, I agree. Let's think along the lines of big permanent things, and we can give Aaron a little bit of direction. Yeah.
Let's kick it around.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll put it back on next month's agenda.
Okay, perfect. And I think you guys, if you come up with ideas or have any thoughts, just put it straight through to Aaron, and then we can have a more structured discussion next time. Yeah? Okay. All right, then we will move forward to the mid-year written progress report from the Up Valley Family Center. I know Aaron wants to say a little something about this.
Yeah, this document was compiled by Jenny Ocon, who is the director, and it just gives an overview of everything that the center has accomplished in regard to supporting our students and their families. So I thought it was important that you see all that's been accomplished.
I just want to say that it was the best thing I read in the whole packet. It was the most satisfying thing. I can't believe how much they accomplished and how extremely fortunate and lucky we are to have them as part of our school, and all of the hard work that Indira does. And I hope that you go back and relay that, Indira, to everybody. That was a very meaty progress report. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, and thank you, to the school district for the support and the, willingness to allow agencies to come and provide services to the students that are, not necessarily academic, but they are more on the social, emotional, and family dynamics. So thank you for the support.
Good. I don't know if the principals want to say anything about that. I just feel like we really should shed a little light on how amazing the Up Valley Family Center is.
Just from my perspective, coming into the community from the outside, last year and knowing that the Up Valley Family Center was here, at first I had no idea the amount of support it provides for our families and students. And it's just amazing. I haven't been in a school district that has something like this. So it's great to come to a community that has that support. So again, kudos to all the people that work and support that program. Because it really comes down to supporting our students and supporting our families. And it comes down to the work that we're doing to try and provide the best for our kids. And with their support, it's definitely, the collaboration is there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I echo a lot of what Raul shared, and I think that it does make a really significant difference when you do partner up with kind of giving that whole child approach and support. And for us, it's also really engaging our parents and creating pathways where our parents feel like they can come to school and get questions answered and learn about that system, so that as their children progress through school, they will be able to engage at each of those, changes that happen, from elementary to middle to high school to post-secondary. So really appreciated all the work that they do.
Great. All right. Anybody else before I move forward? Okay. So that was wonderful. So 5.3 board policies and administrative regulations, first reading. So as usual, we're going through these that have some legal changes. Do you want to speak to any of those, Erin?
Yeah, 5 of them on there just reflect changes that CSBA is recommending, but I brought back board policy 4119.24 at the request of the board. And so you had directed the district to talk to legal counsel and see if we could possibly revise that policy a little bit. So Michael did some research, and I'd like him to share with you the changes that he's recommending.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to talk to the changes we made. I think on this policy, to start with, we were on the right track. We haven't had any policy that gives any clarity or anything specific on adult-student interaction. So the idea behind the policy makes sense. I think the concern last time was just the way it read, and trying to call out that a single instance from their list of examples might not be an example of impropriety, because some of those things are just going to happen. We know that there are going to be times when an adult needs to be alone with a student. There are going to be times when it's okay to use terms of endearment, etc. So did speak with legal counsel, worked together to craft some language. And it's a brief statement that we've added, but I think it's important and does add the clarity. I'm going to read the clarifier. It says that note that one of these examples alone may not constitute inappropriate conduct, though within the context of a complaint or concern, these behaviors may be considered contributing factors in determining an inappropriate adult-student interaction. So hopefully that, that gives, some context to this, that one of these incidents alone might not be concerning, but if you have a complaint, then, some of these might be called out as examples of things that could be concerning and could add to the totality of a circumstance. So that hopefully does, give us what we need to have it be a meaningful and useful policy. And I can answer any questions that you have about that.
So you think, Michael, with the changes that you made with the council, that this satisfies our requirements?
I do. Yeah, I think it's a good policy. I think it's helpful for everyone. I think it's helpful for the district. I think it's helpful for staff to clarify. And I do think that this statement, does give us the sense of what this really is. This is not a gotcha with one of these incidents.
Right.
This is just providing some really non-exhaustive list, but at least some sense of things that that the district might look at in an instance of a complaint.
Okay. Thank you.
Michael, thank you for all the hard work on that. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem at all. And like I said, I think it is a good policy and I think it's helpful for everyone, but I also appreciate the concern and saying, what is this exactly? So I think we're better off, we get these things from CSBA and I think it's good, but I think we've done the right thing by adding a little bit more language to it.
Perfect. Okay, so unless anybody else has any questions about the other 5? No? Okay, perfect. Then we're going to go ahead and move on to 6.1, correspondence from Napa County Office of Education regarding the review of our first interim financial report.
Julie, this is just a letter that the board always receives after the board approves our interim budgets. And so I don't think any other explanation is necessary unless the board has questions.
Okay, no questions? All right, routine in nature. Great. So then we're going to move on to 6.2, correspondence from Calistoga Joint Unified School District parent Michelle Hickman regarding our French program at the junior senior high school. I think this was included in the board doc. Did you want me still to cover it, Erin? Or do you want to just open it up for discussion?
Actually, Raul can talk about it during his report tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll just wait till that. Okay, perfect. All right, and then moving on to 7.1, we'll start with Nicole with the elementary school report.
Sorry, I was muted. And starting out, good evening, everyone. Starting out with goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. As many of you are probably aware, on February 22nd, 2021, hybrid in-person learning resumed at Calistoga Elementary School. The transition has gone well, and I attribute a lot of that to the really mindful planning that has occurred with our stakeholders. And we've been meeting with staff, parents, CAT, CSEA since June 2020. And we developed an additional adjunct committee which focused on the transition to in-person learning. I think students were excited to return to CES. Teachers were excited to be able to see their students in person. During the first few interactions at school, we did some surveys of the students, just asking what they enjoyed most. And their answers were snack, recess, and being able to talk to other students in person. And just as an aside, I have to say that it's truly been a joy when we do that recess. We assign by zones so that groups are moving around so they don't get what we call zone fatigue. And I have to say that a real joy I had was watching 6th grade class who got the play structure, overhearing their conversations of, wow, I haven't used the play structure since 3rd grade. And they were just like all hopping on and using the slides and everything. So I think that they are enjoying being back and appreciating, that time that they haven't had for a year. We did complete our MAP assessment. We're looking at our student growth reports, and we are meeting as grade levels to review comparisons between fall and winter testing, and looking at how we want to target instruction to meet the learning recovery needs of our students. For LCAP goal number 2, safe, healthy, and positive school environment. This last week on Thursday and Friday, we did our first in-person emergency drill, and we did a fire drill where the students practiced going out to our redesigned area. Teachers carry with them basically PVC pipes that are cut in 6-foot sections so that the students can line up with 6 feet of space between them. And it went very well in terms of getting the students out there and getting them lined up. And so our plan as we move forward with the safety drills, which are a requirement, is that we will be doing those on Thursday and Friday because our students are divided into cohorts. Also on March 1st and 2nd of this month, students participated in Read Across America Day, which students and staff wore pajamas to school. On March 2nd, Read Aloud Partners, RAP, did virtual read alouds to 17 of our classrooms. And so we're very grateful to the SOAR Optimists for organizing the logistics of this event. And then finally, with parent engagement, on February 16th, as we were making that transition to in-person learning, we did have a question answer session. We had 54 parents come to that meeting. And during the meeting, we reviewed our COVID safety plan and also the hybrid in-person schedule and plans for recess. So that's my report for tonight.
All super good, positive stuff. I love it. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, moving on to Principal Guerrero.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. The last few weeks, grade level meetings were held to review with students our promotion and graduation requirements, and also our new process for course selections, which is using Google Forms. A presentation to 6th grade students was done where we covered junior high expectations and get them excited about their transition to 7th grade. In the course selection forms, we included 3 questions to get some feedback as to how students are doing right now. One question was, what's going well for you? Next question was, what has been a challenge? And then the last question was, will you be interested in a follow-up call from a trusted adult? So we will, of course, follow up with students that need additional help, but we wanted to just take a quick pulse on our students and see how they were doing since they're not on campus yet. Our next steps in this course selection process is to tally the results and start to make decisions on section allocations to build our master schedule. Sometimes we have to make some tough decisions on programs based on course requests and trends. Last year, for instance, we discontinued offering choir and French 1 because our signups were not there, and also we saw a trend in the previous years as well. These decisions are not made lightly, and we look at trends and possible alternatives before making these decisions to not continue with those programs. And although at times they're not popular decisions, but also shifting sections opens up possibilities for courses that are more attractive to our students. For instance, this year we have 3 new courses. We have ethnic studies, we have film studies, and then we also have guitar. Courses that have strong numbers and high student engagement. I want to say, continue with saying thank you to Michael DeFrancesco for his work in moving us towards ELD compliance and facilitating the adoption of a health curriculum. Our students will benefit from both of these initiatives, so thank you, Michael. I also want to thank Jessica Musser for working on our mid-cycle WASC report and getting us ready for our visit on March 18th and 19th. We're optimistic that we will have a positive review that reaffirms the school's progress in addressing the areas of needed growth. In LCAP goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. We have been gearing up to bring students back for in-person math testing this Wednesday and next Wednesday. This, we hope, is a prelude to bringing students back on a hybrid model as we all look forward to having students on campus. There are a lot of details that need to be worked out, so listening to Nicole's presentation, I keep always getting ideas like, oh yeah, I have to do that. So thank you, Nicole. But I'm sure that we'll get there. Vice Principal Valdenegro and Alexandre have been instrumental in organizing these testing groups and staff training to get us going for this math testing. We're also excited to share some great news about Wildcat Athletics, but also where we're now able to play baseball and softball as the list of approved sports for the spring. But unfortunately, our spring signups are really low. Cross country has 3 athletes out there. Track and field has 9. Tennis has 4. Swim 3. And softball has 3 and baseball 4. And of course, you can't play softball with 3 players or baseball with 4. So we're trying to promote more signups. Today we had a Chromebook distribution day, and Coach Rossi was out there trying to get more tennis players, and we were trying to get people to go out. But we have heard that many of our students have taken part-time jobs to help their families, and also I think that just being the disconnection that happens when you're not at campus and that excitement of participating in extracurricular activities is also lacking because they're not there every day with us. In LCAP goal number 3, increase parent engagement and enhance communication. As stated last month, February was a busy month as we started our course selection process. We had Rising 7th grade parent information night on February 18th, and our 8th grade parent information night on the 25th. And then we also had a Spanish one because our translation services were not working on Zoom one night. So we did a Spanish one that was very well attended and successful. We also send out a Padlet for our virtual open house so that families can see the videos that teachers provided explaining our programs. And we're looking forward to really having students back on campus in the upcoming week. We will also be serving our families to see if they plan to send their children to in-person learning or in our redesigned hybrid model, or are choosing to keep them fully in virtual or distance learning. And as in the past, we will put out video explanations of our schedule and also opportunities for parents for questions and answers. And that is my presentation for this month.
Thank you so much. I love that you two are inspiring each other. I was just kind of curious, since we're sort of launching into all this virtual education, do you think there's ever a possibility that we will have a language class where kids can take whatever language they want virtually?
Yeah, absolutely. There's there's many different programs out there that provide that distance learning opportunities in all subject areas, but including languages. So that is a possibility that we could look to. Of course, there's costs associated with those, but those are definitely possibilities.
I do remember, Jeff, do you remember at one point we owned the rights to Rosetta Stone for a bit? I feel like we had that. Did we lose Jeff? Oh no, there he is. Sorry, the squares are so small. Do you remember that, Jeff?
I do, but I only think it was for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it was offered
Anyways.
to whoever wanted to use it too.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, it was,
just a thought.
Julie was underutilized also, so there was not too many people. And I just want to, for my own understanding, Mr. Guerrero, are you saying that the decision to cut certain classes is due to the low enrollment, right? The students are not participating fully on the program.
Right. They of course have choices, right, to pick from the different electives and also the 2 languages that we offer, French and Spanish. So for instance, in 2020 course selection tallies for French 1, we only had 1 student sign up for it. So then that makes it really difficult to try and have a class, right, that way. We ended up having the class, and what happens is that then you start forcing kids into that class that don't really want to take it. You leverage them in there because there's no other electives, and then they take it, but they're not enjoying it, or they don't continue with that sequence. So we really want to provide choices for our students where again, that they're excited to be in those classes, and hopefully our numbers are strong in those classes.
Do you then, Raul, each year offer it up again just to see if there's interest?
We could potentially put it out there again on the course selection sheets and see if the interest is there again in future years. That's something that we haven't really talked about, but that is a possibility.
I was just curious. Great. Anybody else? Questions on? Okay. All right, then we will move to our student representative. Miss Rubio, you're on.
Good evening, everyone. This afternoon, I would like to share what our Associated Student Body has been doing recently. In an effort to try and plan out ideas for all the high school levels, the ASB officers decided to meet with Mr. Guerrero 2 weeks ago to discuss if any of the ideas within our list had any potential. After discussing these topics, the ASB members decided that perhaps these ideas would be postponed until we were not in the purple tier any longer. However, with only 3 months left of school, we had no hopes. But with the possibility of school reopening again soon, we're excited to start the planning process once more. As an ASB student myself, I think all our students deserve a chance to get together with their friends and classmates. And this is why ASB came up with the idea of organizing a sort of reunion with each grade level, and so they can participate in it. And it would give everyone a chance to eat, hang out, and talk. And of course, the event would follow the protocols, and the students would remain 6 feet apart. This is not, although this is an idea, it's not a plan that's set in place. We were just talking about it. So if we do return back to school, we don't come back with no ideas. And ASB has also partnered up with the Calistoga Grad Night Committee in order to celebrate the senior successes. And they will be hosting a car wash Saturday, March 20th from 9 to 5 at the St. Helena Car Wash located on Main Street. And during this fundraising event, parents of the senior class will be helping to wash cars, sell food, and serve. And further events are still in the works. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay. Now we move on to Michael.
All right, I'll provide an update tonight, and I think as usual, it kind of ranges from the educational services side to the human resources side, so there's a little bit of both. And I'll start with an update on professional development. And I think this has actually been, a surprising, kind of highlight or benefit of this year and being in distance kind of education for all of us. It's a lot easier when you're attending trainings virtually to go to them. You don't have to travel to a training. The costs of the trainings have come down. And so we've actually seen a real increase this year in staff participation in trainings. And there's been a lot of them. Some examples just to give you a sense of what our staff has been learning about: English learner instruction, the new attendance procedures, and a lot of the new procedures coming out of the state, and CDE, ARIES, our student information system, ESCAPE, our financial system, technology, distance learning, new COVID laws, safety procedures, and then a real nod to our SELPA, which is our special education governing body out of the County Office of Education. They've put together some really great offerings this year, and we've had participation from not just special education teachers, but administrators, general education teachers. And so we've seen a real increase in participation in the trainings offered by SELPA. And then we've also had our own trainings that we've been facilitating, and I can share some updates there. I've previously talked about the training we've done for our staff on distance learning and educational technology. We had our final session of the year with this group last Wednesday at the elementary school, and the topic was student engagement. And I think as we've been in virtual learning this so long, we are struggling a little bit with keeping students engaged in the virtual environment. So we continue to focus on learning how to do that better. We're currently providing self-paced professional development to our staff in English language development. And we're looking to reboot the work we've done on restorative practices and bring that back into focus this spring for our junior senior high school staff as students return to campus. And also looking to do our CPI training. It's an annual training we do for special education staff on de-escalation techniques and the approved restraints we have. And we have staff who are due for certification renewal. And so we'll look to do that now that we have students returning to campus. I can also share an update on our COVID case counts. We've been, following and responding to positive COVID cases since last March, and then more formally since October, as we have a more formal kind of reporting requirement and recording process. And, we saw our numbers really peak in January. We had 15 cases that were reported to us, that students and our staff. That number went from 15 in January to 6 cases in February. And then we've had 0 cases in March. I'm reluctant to even share that to you, with you. I feel like it's kind of knock on wood, right? But I think, we're trending in the right direction. Of the 37 cases that we've had since October, only 3 of those involved someone being on campus during their infectious period. So it's about 8%. And of those 3, 0 resulted in school spread or spread to another individual while at school. And so I think this really speaks to the quality of the safety protocols we have in place. But I think it also, it speaks to our staff and our students for following those policies. It's one thing to have good policies in place around mitigation strategies, wearing of masks, social distancing, et cetera. It's another thing to have everyone in your organization able to follow those policies. And I think we've had a lot of success on all fronts, and we'll continue to monitor the cases daily. We'll stay vigilant about our safety protocols, regardless of our success, regardless of increase in staff vaccinations. But ultimately, we want the focus to be on teaching and learning. But we will, we'll continue to focus on COVID to make sure that it's not an issue that we need to address and interrupt our learning. And then lastly, I want to give you an update on a new program we've adopted called HAPARA. It's a new educational technology that we've adopted. It's out of New Zealand. It's been around for a long time. I've always known it as HAPARA. It's been around, and I've seen it in other schools, have helped implement it in other districts. We had a meeting with one of their trainers the other day, and it's a product from New Zealand. And I guess the way they pronounce it is HAPARA, right? I've never heard anyone say that. That's how they pronounce it in New Zealand. I think that's the appropriate way, but Americans, we all call it HAPARA. So anyways, that's what it is. And it's a tool that really is very powerful for teachers and how they implement learning when they and their students are on computers. And so just some examples of how it can be used. So with the tap of a button, a teacher can take everyone who's in the class on a computer and direct them to a certain website. So that's efficient, right? As opposed to saying, hey, everybody, please type this into your browser, or here's a link, please click on it. You can force the entire class to go to a website and then teach a lesson from that website. Or you could restrict students to a series of websites and provide time for research or reading, but make sure that students stay within the websites that you want them to be in and don't get distracted. You could pause a student's screen so that they are looking at you, not their device. And you could, I think one thing we've seen recently too that's been really valuable is during map assessments, you can lock them into that assessment so that they aren't distracted and so that they can't go outside of it and do research on how to find the answers to the questions. So those are just some examples of the instructional tools. There are many more. And then there's also a tool that allows teachers to monitor student website use. This is to make sure that students are on the correct websites and they're not on 2 or 3 other websites, but they should be listening to instruction. The ultimate goal of that is to create students who are independent, who have agency to manage their own learning. But that's a spectrum, and some students need more support in that area than others. We started looking at this over probably about almost 1.5 years ago in the Educational Technology Committee. And we saw real value in this prior to COVID. But now that we are in, the situation we're in, I think it's even more important, and I think it will be very valuable in hybrid. Hybrids, I'm sure for teachers is going to be a little frustrating to be able to have to basically teach from afar. At times, you're teaching from 6 feet away, and that's a different experience. But I think this tool will help the teacher be more effective at guiding the class and really teaching through technology, which they're going to have to continue to do, even if students are in the same room. So we're excited about it. It's a new tool. I think we just launched it last week. We've been offering office hours for teachers that have questions, and then we'll offer trainings, optional trainings for staff at each site that want to learn more. So that's some of the happenings, and that's my report for this month.
That's great. I'm curious, how did we find out about a software technology from New Zealand?
You know, there are a number of products that do these types of things, and they're not that new. They've been around for a while. Like I said, I've helped implement this in previous districts myself. When we looked at this at the Ed Tech committee, I mean, part of this is driven by the fact that when you're a teacher and you have all your students on devices, you know, it presents a challenge that you didn't have before, and there's technology to help you do that better. And we felt that there was a desire amongst our staff to do that. The reason we chose Hapara over some of the competitors is Hapara is really focused on using this as an instructional tool. There is a monitoring capability to make sure that students are on task, but that's not really the focus of this company, whereas it kind of is of some of the competitors. It's more of a policing tool. And that's not really what we wanted. That's nice to have it there, it's important. But the primary purpose is how do we teach and learn using devices? And that's really why we ended up choosing Hapara over some of the competitors. And we had presentations, I think, from 3 companies. And then we ultimately piloted Hapara and chose to move forward with it.
Very cool. All these things that are coming out of this are interesting. Great. Okay, anybody else have questions for Michael before we move on to Maureen? Okay, Maureen, it is to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. The governor signed AB 86 into law on March 5th, and that law is now in effect. There are 2 different funding streams that are part of AB 86. One is for learning recovery, and the other is a reopening incentive grant. AB 86 provides $4.5 billion in learning recovery funds to school districts, and as a condition of receiving the funds, the districts must implement a learning recovery program to provide supplemental instruction and support to high needs students. High needs in this case is pupils included with, oh my gosh, sorry. High needs students are students with exceptional needs, free and reduced lunch students, English learners, foster youth, homeless students, at-risk students, disengaged students, students who are below grade level, credit deficient students, and high school students at risk of not graduating. So a lot of opportunity to reach out to all those high need students. 85% of these funds must be used towards extended learning time. We must also provide additional support such as tutoring, accelerated learning programs, we can do technology hubs, and we can also promote health and wellness. 10% of the 85% needs to go to hiring paraprofessionals to work directly with English learners and exceptionally needed students. Up to 15% can be used for distance learning, and Calistoga's allocation is estimated to be at about $641,000. The second piece of this bill is the reopening incentive grant. Originally, the governor was saying $450 per pupil if school districts opened their elementary schools K through 6 by, I think at that time it might have been February 1st. So the legislature came back and said, no, that's too soon. And so now they've agreed upon a reopening incentive grant that provides $2 billion in these grants to districts to return to in-person instruction on or before April 1st. And that's for elementary school levels as well. Allocations are based off of LCFF dollars, our local funding control formula. And the funds can be used for in-person instruction services and supplies, including COVID testing, cleaning, PPE equipment, ventilation, salaries for certificated and classified employees, providing the in-school instruction, and social and mental health support for our students. That allocation is estimated for our school district at a little over $302,000. So we have about $942,000 coming our way for these 2 grants. We will be able to meet the April 1st deadline, of course, with the elementary school. Another caveat of the in-person grant is that if you move from purple to red tier and you open at your 7th through 12th grades, you're also eligible for the grant. So we are on target for being able to receive all of those dollars. On the technology side of things, last month I brought a contract to the board with Mid-Valley IT for our technology services support of our network. We left NVN and have started up with Mid-Valley. That agreement stated we were going to hire a 40-hour per week employee from Mid-Valley to be stationed in Calistoga. And as of today, we have been unable to fill that position at Mid-Valley. I've actually been sitting in on the interviews with Mid-Valley's hiring team, and we just haven't found the right person yet. So what's that doing for us at the district office level is we're trying to create our own job description for a network analyst and bring that to the board as soon as we can. This would allow us to then go out and post our own position in multiple areas, including EdJoin, that brings the school district employees into the mix as well. So we might have a little bit more success. We're still working on installing new firewalls for the district. Remember, we had a firewall that went down a few months back. We have been working tirelessly trying to configure 2 new firewalls for the district. We had some issues with our hotspot, our Verizon hotspot network, and so those are getting worked out right now. And in the meantime, Mid-Valley is providing all of our network management support daily through our IT ticket system. So we didn't change anything on our employees, but they are responding to tickets, as well as they're getting the firewalls prepped for install probably in the next couple of weeks. We have auditors in our district right now. They're not presently with us, but they're with us electronically. We're in the midst of doing the preliminary audit work for our 2021 attendance. There's been no other year like this year when it comes to attendance auditing. And part of SB 98 that was passed with the 2021 state budget required school districts to have weekly engagement records for each student, showing whether or not that student was engaged in either synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. And then what the site planned on doing if the student wasn't engaged. Also new this year, teachers are electronically certifying all of their assignments that they're creating for students to make sure that they meet the minimum instructional minute requirement time for the grade level that they're teaching. We are the first district to be audited by Christy White in the 2021 attendance procedures with our particular auditor. And we are very prepared, and we're very prepared for this audit because we have Alex in our district that has done a tremendous amount of work to prepare for this audit by making sure we had all the right programs and all the right documents uploaded for our auditors. She's made it super easy for them, and it's been a great process working with Alex on it. And then Veronica and Maria at our school offices have also put in a ton of hard work. So I just want to give a shout out to all 3 of them for all the work that they do in our district. They're a wonderful part of our team, and I'm really glad they're part of our team. That's about all I have for tonight. So unless anybody has any comments or questions, I am finished with my report.
That was a lot. Thank you, Maureen. Anybody? Questions? No? Okay, then we're going to pass it to Erin for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Julie. Under LCAP goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, I want to commend Nicole and all of the CES staff for the successful implementation of their blended learning model. Not only are they working very hard to offer quality education through a combination of in-person and virtual learning, but as she mentioned, they've also done a fabulous job of providing engaging activities during the recesses. So that's creating a sense of community at school, and it's helping to meet the social emotional needs of our students. And as I know you're aware, the COVID-19 case rates have been steadily declining, not just in our community, but throughout Napa County. And so last week, our county was moved to the red tier. And the good news, as you've heard, is that our district is now eligible to begin bringing back our junior, senior high school students for in-person learning. So we are excited that we are going to be announcing actually we already announced to the parents, that we're going to transition on March 22nd. And over the course of the school year, the COVID-19 guidelines are changing constantly. I think sometimes it changes daily. As the medical professionals have learned more about the virus during the course of the pandemic. And in light of that, Raul and his staff have revised their original blended learning model that was approved by the board last August to try to increase the time the students will be at school. So we're going to be meeting with our labor partners actually starting tomorrow to begin discussing the changes to our MOUs that we currently have in place to reflect the changes in the California Department of Public Health guidance. And then the junior senior high school is also going to survey families to see how many are going to prefer to stay in distance learning, because that's a requirement. We have to offer an option for our families through the remainder of this school year. And that could potentially impact the blended learning model just based on the schedule and class availability. I want to let you know too that I'm back in discussion with the AIM High staff again. As information for our new trustees, Rudy and Stephanie, AIM High is a highly successful summer enrichment program. And it was specifically designed for students in grades 6 through 9. It's a 5-week session. It's highly engaging, and it has a strong success rate. So they've got lots of data over the past almost 30 years, and 97% of AIM High graduates go on to college. So like all of our school districts, AIM High had to quickly pivot last March when they knew that they had to move into a virtual learning model. So that made a big change in their program. It reduced the number of school sites that they were going to serve, and we were one of those school sites. They did not have enough time to take all the schools that they were planning to onboard and implement virtual for them. So they've been spending the last few months creating what they're calling a new version's AIM High Extended. And that would allow some of our district students to participate in the virtual learning program for this summer. They felt that they did not have the capacity to offer in person. That's something that they're hoping for in the following summer. So I have another meeting scheduled this week with their team, just to further discuss the potential of not only having our kids participate in virtual, but perhaps creating a hybrid version. So our students would come to the junior senior high school campus, they'd be participating in the virtual model, but they'd be doing it as a group here on campus. We just think that would be better in helping build a sense of community. They could do some of the activities together as long as we're following guidelines. So I proposed that to them. I talked to them last week. They want to take it under consideration, and hopefully they're going to have an answer soon. And then I'll be able to share information with you at the next board meeting. Under LCAP goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. Schoolworks is the consulting firm that's been working on our facilities master plan, and they have a draft ready to bring to the board for your input. So I'm recommending that we, rather than put that on a regular agenda in April, I'm recommending that we hold a special plan or special meeting, because the plan, I think, deserves your thorough review and also discussion as a board team. So I'd like to propose that we have a special meeting on Monday, March 29th, if all of our trustees are available to meet. If that is not possible, the other date we could possibly get together would be March 22nd, but the 29th would give them and us a little bit more time to prepare before holding that special meeting. And then we would come back at the April 12th meeting for final approval by the board.
Are you thinking it would be evening, Erin?
I think that's probably best for the public. We could do it, maybe late afternoon or early evening.
Okay.
Then,
No, go ahead.
Okay, and then under LCAP goal number 3, increasing parent engagement and enhancing communication. We have begun to gather input for our 3-year local control accountability plan, which is our LCAP. So we distributed a survey to staff, students, and parents just last week. We gave a fairly short turnaround time because we've learned in the past that if you stretch it out too far, you don't necessarily get back more responses. So Alex Andery, whose name you've heard mentioned more than once, she's our data assessment support specialist. She's going to compile the data, and then the data leadership team will be analyzing it at a meeting that we're holding on March 31st. Once they analyze it, then they will share it back with the school site team so that everybody's familiar with the information, and then that could input or impact our classroom instruction and also help us identify students who need to have learning recovery for the summer. Then the first PK workshop was held last Saturday. It was a four-hour workshop. We had 30 parents participating in the virtual meeting when I was there. I had to sign out after about 45 minutes and people were still entering the meeting. So I'm anxious to hear from the director about how many people actually stayed for the 4 hours. So there's 2 more for our meetings scheduled in seminar series, and those are going to be held on March 13th, and the graduation's on March 20th. And then this Wednesday, I have a meeting scheduled with Anu Cairo. She is serving as the program director for the S.H. Cowell Foundation. And I'm going to be giving a mid-year progress report on the $85,000 grant that our district was awarded for the 3rd year in a row. So we are well on our way to accomplishing the goals, their grant deliverables that were established last August. And one of our goals was to increase parent engagement. And Cowell is actually funding the PK program. So I'm excited to report on the participation that we just had at our first workshop. Then lastly, I want to compliment Paula publicly on the continued success of our district's electronic newsletter. We are now distributing it to 264 staff and community members. And the industry standard for schools is about a 26% open rate. And ours was an amazing 85% last month. And the industry standard for a click-through rate is typically around 9%. And ours this last month was 51%. So we're blowing the stats away thanks to Paula's creativity and then also to our amazing staff. They share just incredible work that they're doing in the school. So it's a team effort, but Paula is the one who's instrumental in making it all work and distributing it. So thank you, Paula. That's all I have.
I second that. I look forward to her newsletter. It's so full of content and pictures, and I get it why people love it. It's awesome. Okay, anybody else? No? Okay. So moving forward to the consent agenda. So actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or the staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So I just want to make sure nobody has anything that they want to discuss. Okay.
Julie,
go ahead.
I'm going to be abstaining from voting on the consent agenda.
Okay. Do we need to talk about why or just that's fine? No.
That's fine. She can.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, then I'm just looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thanks, Stephanie. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, so we have 4 ayes and 1 abstain. And that's roll call vote. President Elkishan, aye. Clerk Lopez Jones is abstaining. Trustee Maxfield?
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Aye.
Trustee Rothberg Allen?
Aye.
Student Representative Rubio?
She got
Good. Okay, perfect. I meant to tell her to drop off. Perfect. Okay, and then that moves us to 9.1 action items. So protocol for action items includes staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. So we'll start off with 9.2, which is Resolution 2021-08, Staff Appreciation Week.
Julie, this is the resolution that we bring each year to the board. This is just basically combining the 3 appreciation weeks, classified, certificated, and administrative weeks, so we can all celebrate one time together.
Great. So are we thinking it's going to be something in person or?
Traditionally, the PTO has done something for the school sites. DLAC has, I know the site administrators do things for their team. So it's a combined effort.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve that resolution 2021-08.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Great. Okay, moving to 9.3, acceptance of the 2019-20 audit, and Maureen and our guest appearance, Mr. Michael Ash. We'll toss it to you.
Normally, this is a January agenda item because we finish our audit in December, and it's usually due to CDE before December 15th. This year, due to the pandemic, audit dates were postponed due to some audit requirements that needed to be updated by CDE. So Michael Ash is here with us tonight to present the district's 1920 audit ending June 30th, 2020. And Michael is a partner at Christie White. Christie White is the firm that we contract to audit our books on a yearly basis. And Michael, thank you for being here and meeting with us on Zoom, and the Zoom floor is now yours.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much, Maureen. As Maureen said, I'm Michael Ash with Christie White. It's really nice to see all of you. I feel like it's been a really long time. And, you know, normally, as Maureen said, normally the report's due in December and I present to you in January. And it's always that first Monday back from break. And it's always nice to have you guys first because it's always a good board meeting. It's a good audit report because my Januaries are usually spent doing nothing but presenting to board. So I did miss that this year, but here we are in March. And let me tell you, I just really want to thank, before I get into the report, I want to thank Maureen and her team because this was such a challenging audit. And just, you know, to go from, you know, we would always come on site at least twice every year. And then this year, 1920, to have to do it entirely remote. And there are so many documents that have to be provided for an audit. And Maureen and everyone at the district was just so helpful in getting us everything that we needed and putting everything on our portal. So I just want to thank Maureen and the rest of the team because, you know, the deadline was extended to March 31st. And let me tell you, we still have probably a third of our school districts that we're not done with yet for 1920, unfortunately. But this, thankfully, was not one of them. So thank you very much for that. As far as the audit goes, great results. Normally, I would be holding a report and I would point you to one page in the report. It's at the back of the report. It's a summary of auditors' results. So without having that, I'll just briefly describe to you what the summary of auditors' results were. So the first opinion that we give is an opinion on the financial statements. And we gave the district an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion that you can possibly get. So from our perspective, things are very clean. The numbers are fairly stated in all material respects. So very good there. Along with that, because you're a school district, we do your audit report under what's called government auditing standards. So we don't give opinions on your internal controls, but if we do come across anything that we consider to be a significant deficiency or material weakness in financial reporting, we do have to report it as an audit finding. I'm happy to say that you didn't have any findings, so that's another good thing. Another opinion that we did have to give this year, you might notice the report was a little bit longer this year. We did have to do a single audit. So what that means is if the district spends $750,000 or more in federal money, we have to do what's called a single audit. And the district is always right around that threshold. You're always very close. So I think we did one in 2018. We didn't have to do one in 2019. And then the CRF money that you got from the CARES Act threw you just over the threshold. So we did have to do a single audit, but everything was great there. We looked at the child nutrition cluster as well as special education. So unmodified opinion, no findings there. And then finally, state awards. So because you're a school district, there's an audit guide each year that comes out that we have to audit, and it's huge. There are probably 30 or 40 things that we have to look at in there. Everything from attendance to your instructional materials hearing, to your school accountability report cards. And again, unmodified opinion on state awards and no findings. So just a great report all around. We, very rarely, probably 10 to 15% of our reports have no findings. So this is a great report. And again, I want to thank the team for all of your help. And if there are any questions from anyone, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much for that, Michael.
You're welcome.
Great job, Maureen. You're the queen of audits this last 3 years, that's for sure. Nobody else has questions about this? Okay.
I do have to say that it's great working with Christy White and Michael and Sarah Palafox, who's the one that's normally doing all the day-to-day stuff with me. Great firm to work with and very supportive in everything that's going on in the school districts today, for sure. So thanks, Michael.
Well, thank you. We wish we could clone you and have you at all of our school districts. And I heard you allude to it earlier, but thank you for being one of the first districts to go for 2021. That's going to be a learning curve for all of us, because as you said, the attendance is reported differently this year, and so our testing is different. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
Definitely.
Great. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, I'm just looking for a motion to accept the 1920 audit.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Okay.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you all January of next year.
In person.
In person, definitely. All right. Have a good night.
Bye. Okay, and you're not done, Maureen. So moving on to 9.4, the second interim financial report.
Okay, I believe Paula's going to share. So this is our 2021 second interim report. And normally throughout the school district year, we have 2 interim financial reports. We have first interim and second interim. Sometimes if we don't meet certain financial qualifications, we might have to have a third, but right now in Calistoga, we only do have to have 2. The second interim goes, it's all the expenditures that we're reporting to the state of California through January 31st, and it's due to the state of California by March 15th. It goes to our county office first for review. That's what generates the letter that we saw tonight. And then the county office sends it on to the state for our district. Just a reminder that California school district revenues and expenditures are subject to constant change. District budgets are not static. They are constantly being revised and updated in order to respond to decisions at the local, state, and federal levels. When compiling the different interim reports and budget adoption, I look to these resources to give me the information to know what is out there right now as current information for the state of California. So right now we're looking at the governor's January proposal of the 21-22 budget for the state. So I use a lot of facts that come from that as far as what he's proposing. And then, of course, all the other categories. Another one being very important to us is the local property tax reports, the J29 report. So that gets sent to the state, and then that's what I base our projections of local property tax revenue from. Next page, Paula. Oh, back one, please. So the J29, just like I just talked about, is the property tax certification report. We do 2 of these a year. We do it around first interim time, and then we do another one in April. So we'll get some updated projections in April. But for right now, our J29 is showing that we have an impact in our revenue because of the Glass and Hennessy fires. And so originally with the 2021 budget, we projected a 4% increase from 1920 actuals, and it looks more like that's going to come in at about 2.12% instead of the 4%. It's right around a $300,000 decrease in income for us this year. And we'll talk a little bit in the next couple slides about the CBO's meeting with Napa County Assessor's Office to talk about updates with the pandemic and the fires to our property taxes. And one thing we are being advised, I've talked about this before at first interim, is we are being advised to continue budgeting a 0% increase in tax growth in the 21-22 year and the 22-23 year. We can move forward, Paula. So we did receive, we met with the county assessor's office and the NCO chief business official at Napa County Office of Ed, Josh Schultz, as a result of that meeting, sent out quite a lengthy letter to districts regarding property tax projections and what we're looking at. So one of the big concerns is assessed value growth is going to taper off in the next couple of years, and there are reasons for that. The three reasons are listed: decreases in assessed values due to the fires, anticipated declines in assessed values because of the COVID pandemic, and then the potential rebound from downward assessments from the Great Recession. So they're thinking that that rebound has largely been pretty much eliminated at this point in time. And so that also is having an effect on our property tax revenue projections. Given all of these circumstances, the county assessor has recommended that local jurisdictions, including school districts, use a projection of 0% property tax growth for next year and the year after that. And then NCO, we just did the letter stating that, yes, we believe that districts should be doing this as well. So these are just little excerpts from that letter. This is a look at the 3 reporting periods we have had so far for the 2021 school year, and it just shows the differences in each reporting period for our revenues, our expenditures, and then our ending fund balances. So you can see bottom line in 2021 adopted budget, we thought we'd be ending with about 1.2 million as an increase in our fund balance, knowing we wanted to increase, knowing these property tax revenues were going to decline. This is intentional so we can get through the next couple years. And then at first interim, that 1.2 increase in the ending fund balance decreased to 763,000. And now with second interim, we're about 839. And what I did with second interim is went through and reduced expenditures, knowing that we weren't going to use those expenditures this year. And most of those expenditures will be rebudgeted in our 21-22 school year. So it'll increase our ending fund balance for right now, but again, most of that will go back into the budget for the next year. These are the changes since budget adoption. We talked a lot about these at first interim as well. Not a lot has changed significantly since first interim. So of course, there's that decrease in property taxes. The actual property tax amount was over $300,000, but we also had a decrease in our LCFF money from the state. They were going to take away 10%, and that is now back in the budget. So it took that $300,000 and reduced it a little bit. But again, 2.12% increase in property taxes instead of the projected 4%, and then federal funding increased by almost $890,000. Of course, that's due to mostly CARES Act funding and learning loss mitigation funds. State revenue has increased since budget adoption. Most of that is also learning loss mitigation funds, and the STRS on behalf that I talk about a lot, where our revenue and our expenditures have to match. And so those projections changed a little bit. So not only did they change on the income side, they changed on the expense side as well. And then local funding increase of about $52,000, and that has to do with the grants that we get that are local funded grants, and they come in the year that we're operating in. And then scholarship income and MA funding, which used to be a federal income, has now moved to local funding. So that's part of that revenue as well. This is a look at all those general fund revenues just as a chart. So you can see, obviously, we get about 85% of our income from LCFF sources, which do include property tax income. This is actually a chart from Escape. So all I had to do was click a button and it produced this report, and it made me so happy because I didn't have to do anything else. But normally I do this and I manipulate it in PowerPoint, but we didn't have to do that this time. So it's kind of exciting. The rest, oh, go ahead. Yeah, you know, you can go forward, Paula, that's fine. These are the changes in expenditures since budget adoption, and we've had some increases in certificated salaries. Of course, we had some PD. We've increased some sub costs because with going back into hybrid learning, we do have some subs that we want to make sure we have available to us if we need them. We have some additional hours that we've paid out to certificated staff for other things like credit recovery and things like that. And then, of course, we always have salary adjustments between budget adoption and first interim. So that's part of that mix as well. Classified salaries have actually decreased in second interim. I had budgeted some dollars for professional development and additional hours for classified that haven't been needed. So those salaries have decreased, and that is in the second interim that way. Benefits increased by $194,000. This is where we see that difference in the STRS on behalf and salary changes, since all of those above salary changes that we talked about with certificate and classified staff is also in the benefits increase. Supplies have increased due to getting all the CARES Act funding, learning loss mitigation funds, buying PPE equipment, doing distance learning purchases. Same with services and operating expenditures. And then capital outlay, we have increased by about $324,000. That's to do the CES fencing, the hands-free sinks and toilets. We added $5,000 to purchase our book vending machine at the elementary school. That money was received in donations, but very exciting that there's going to be a book vending machine at the elementary. Can't wait to see that. And then we do have a little bit of money set aside for COVID-19 expenditures. And then again, this is looking at all of our expenses straight out of Escape, and it shows the different percentages of salary breakdowns, benefits, books and supplies. I think we're at about 76% for all salaries and benefits for our employees. That leaves the rest for everything else. So I always want to make sure we're aware of what our ongoing financial commitments are, especially in these times of knowing that we might not have any property tax revenue in the next couple of years. This is a not all-inclusive list, but it does show you certain things that when I'm budgeting, I have to really make sure are in the budget because they're costly. Step and column is a big cost increase for us on a year-to-year basis. Currently, about 92.7% of our certificated staff receive a step increase every year based on where they are in the salary schedule, and then 96% for classified has the same. So this year it cost us $128,000. You see, as we move through, it's a little bit more, and that just kind of depends on who's moving where, because there are some steps that are stagnant for a year or two. And then ongoing salary changes since adoption, we did hire a 4 through 6 intervention teacher, and so that is now going to be an ongoing salary that is included in our budget. Increased costs and utilities, I always budget probably around 5% for those increased costs, but next year, 21-22, it's a big jump because PG&E is actually increasing by over 20% in both this year and next year. Increase in employer pension contributions. Normally that number is a lot higher, like the $264 you see in 22-23. This year and next year, we've gotten some reprieve from the government, from California Department of Ed, in what we are paying as an employer to contribute to certificated and classified salaries. So that number is a lot lower this year and next year. And then obviously you see it jump up in the third year out. And then special education. I was not expecting an increase in our contribution to special education at all this year, but we are increasing by about $41,000. That's with our other income in special ed remaining pretty stagnant from last year. And then 21-22 and 22-23, those are more of a normal increase to special ed contributions. Normally we see it somewhere around $200,000. We have a couple of big ticket items that might come into the 21-22 school year, so that's why that is up so high. And then 22-23, all those same expenditures, but then I use an average of what our growth has been in the past few years, and so that's how we get to that 221. Of course, at the bottom, total financial commitments. This year you can see 369. We're only going to receive about 331 in an increase in property tax income and unrestricted income to pay for these expenditures. And so obviously, right, already we're over budget. And then looking to the next 2 years, you can see how we deficit spend quite quickly in our multi-year projection because of having zero income to pay for these cost increases on a year-to-year basis. So we're going to talk about the multi-year projection, and these are the assumptions that have been made in the multi-year projection. I just want to point out a couple. Step and column increases normally are about 1 to 1.5% of salaries. We are looking at a FTE increase next year. Right now, that's budgeted in our multi-year projection. You can see the differences in percentages for STRS and PERS, going from 16.15 in STRS all the way to 18 in 22-23. That's why that number jumped so much in the third year out. And I always put in about a 2.5% in purchasing cost increase, and then CPI on the service side. So those are the assumptions that I make when I'm doing the multi-year budgeting. And then if we go to the next slide, these are our multi-year projections, kind of in a synopsis. So we show the beginning balances, we show revenues. You can see in the multi-years, the revenues decline, and that's a lot of the CARES Act goes away. Expenditures go up because of all those fiscal challenges we just talked about. And you can see this year we're looking at a surplus, but then in the next 2 years, 21-22 and 22-23, we're looking at a huge deficit in spending, and that's obviously due to our zero projection in income. And then I added the 23-24 school year. It's not something that we require or that we have to report anywhere. I just wanted to see, based on our ending fund balance in 22-23, if we add in all of our revenues and all of our expenses, just kind of rolling those forward with step and column, what we would be out. And so we would go from 15.5% down to 6.5%, just based on having another year of 0% property tax growth. So obviously, you know, we're going to have to start doing some talking in the 21-22 school year, depending on how things come in. But that's what we are looking at right now for our multi-year projection. 22-23, we're looking at ending at 15.53%. That's what we report to CDE. So all of this talk has been based just on our general fund operating budget. We do have other funds that we keep and report on, and those are listed here. Adult education is really an in and out. We get money in for adult ed, but we pay it right back out to have Napa Valley run the adult ed program countywide. And then Fund 13 is our cafeteria food service program. We will probably be reducing some expenditures in that area, and we may be able to save some money there this year with the transfer that we normally make. But right now, that's what it looks like as an ending fund balance. Our bond fund is looking at about $801,000. That's the bond fund that's leftover funds from the 2017 sale, and that will get us started on moving forward with our master plan. Same with Fund 25 and developer fees, as well as the last two funds, Fund 35 and Fund 40. So funds 25 or 21 through 40 are all just capital outlay funds. You can't use that on any kind of salary of teachers or admin staff in the district. It's strictly for improving facilities. Next step, tonight, hopefully the board approves the second interim. And then March through June, we're working on budget adoption and the LCAP adoption. And then May 2021, the governor comes out with his May revision. And so he will come out and say, we think, you know, we're thinking that the projections are right on, and we're going to keep the same proposals we had in January, or they'll update them accordingly. They like to wait and see what comes in for the April tax base. And then first meeting in June, we do a budget and LCAP hearing. And then the second meeting in June, we do the actual approval of the LCAP and the budget. And I believe that is all I have, unless there are questions from the board.
I think everybody's just in shock.
No, everybody's probably asleep.
No. This is the first time ever, maybe in the history of this district, that we've had to be so careful and so conservative. It's
very, yeah, it's very scary. I've been saying, yes, we're being told that we have to project zero income, but I'm praying that we get at least a little something. Because you see just in, a few things, we're already $500,000 down in just, fiscal challenges. So we're going to plan for the worst and we're going to hope for the best.
Anybody else have any comments, questions about that? Such a good, clear presentation. Thank you for that. I was just thinking while I was listening to you, it took me 11 years or 10 years to really fully understand the budget. So Stephanie and Rudy, you don't get it right away. Or maybe you do. I didn't get it right away. But you do a great job. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if no one has any questions, because her presentation was so incredibly clear, I'll look for a motion to go ahead and approve our second interim financial report.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great. Thank you. Okay, then we move forward to 9.5, the GASB 7475 valuation report. And you're still on, Maureen.
So the district did contract again this year with Total Compensation Systems to provide us with our valuation report ending June 30th, 2020. This is a requirement of GASB 74 government standards for accounting. And it requires, GASB 74 requires districts to complete a measurement report annually with an updated actuarial report every 3 years. This report gives the liability of the district in relation to retiree benefit obligations. So both the CTA CAT contract and the CSEA contract are taken into consideration when applying the assumptions to complete this report. And then there's other assumptions that are made in the areas of valuation interest rate, expected rate of return on assets, long-term medical trend rate, and projected payroll growth. Based on all of the things that are assumed, we are a very lucky district in the fact that we do have a negative liability for retiree benefits. This does not happen in very many districts at all. The district's done a good job with not only investing dollars to help with this liability, but creating contracts that are affordable for the district to maintain good fiscal stability. So currently, our liability at June 30th was about $587,000. We have in our investment fund a little over we have almost 1.2 million in our investment fund. And so that leaves us a negative liability of a little over $602,000. We can withdraw these funds from the investment accounts as needed. So if we did have retirees that retired based on the collective bargaining contracts, and the district had a contribution to help pay for some retiree benefits, that's when we would withdraw funds from the 1.2 million and then put them in our general fund to help make those payments. So I'm watching out for that. We don't have a lot going on right now. I think this year we had about an $8,000 obligation. I'm going to investigate that and see if that obligation can be reimbursed to us. But according to Total Compensation Systems, they said, it's time to start, when you need the funds, start withdrawing them and using them. That's why they're there. And again, this is just kind of like a quick report that's done on a yearly basis. We did the full valuation report last year. And until next year, we're at about negative $602,000 in our liability, which is phenomenal for a school district. So unless you have any questions.
That's great. Thank you. Somewhere along the line, we had vision to tuck that away, didn't we? Yeah.
Very smart.
All right, so I am looking for a motion to approve GASB 7475 valuation report.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Rudy. Thanks, Jeff. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Awesome. Okay, moving forward to 9.6, Resolution 2021-09, Resolution of Intention to Terminate Certificated Employees due to reduction of particular kinds of services. So I'm going to let Erin explain a little bit about that.
Well, a reduction in force has not been necessary for our district in many years because our budget has been healthy due to continued property tax increases in Calistoga. So as Maureen just shared in her budget presentation, however, the glass fire has had a significant impact on the valley. So we need to be cautious that we are not going to be overstaffed in the upcoming school year because we simply cannot afford to be. So typically we are able to pretty accurately predict our kindergarten enrollment for the following year, and that's based on pre-registrations. And then also we are very fortunate that the preschool directors are very helpful because they contact families who are enrolled in their programs to help us determine our enrollment numbers. This year is unique, however, in that very few children are attending preschool during the pandemic. So the directors really can't help us in contacting those families because they don't know where they are either. So we are hopeful that families are soon going to register. Our elementary school is doing a great job of trying to recruit through families that are currently enrolled. And we're hopeful that our enrollment is going to be similar to past years to be able to sustain the current staffing levels that we have at the elementary school. I do believe it's prudent at this time, however, that the board pass this resolution and then we can rescind the layoff notice when we're confident that we have the student numbers to support for kindergarten teachers or in the event if we have a retirement. Any questions about that?
Another new thing for us. Anybody questions on that? No? Okay. All right, so I'm just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve Resolution 2021-09 to terminate certificate employee.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Yay, new board members. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, moving forward, we are looking at 9.7, Resolution 2021-10, termination of tie-breaking criteria. So I'll let Erin explain a little bit about that.
So this resolution is relating to the layoff resolution. And so pursuant to provisions of Ed Code Section 44955, the Board of Trustees is required to determine the district's needs should it become necessary to determine the order of termination for employees who are rendered paid service. So in the event, we would have to do a tiebreaker if we had two staff who were hired on the same day and they were to receive a layoff notice, then this would be a tiebreaker for us. And this particular resolution says that it would be holding a lottery. And a district can determine whatever they would like their tiebreaker to be.
So is that what you've used in the past? In your
I've actually used a variety of things in the
Okay.
past.
But this is the best.
I would say it's the best for this district, yes.
Okay, all right. Anybody questions? No? Okay, then I'm looking for motion to approve Resolution 2021-10.
So moved.
Thanks, Steph.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. So then we move on to 9.8, health curriculum for grades 7 through 12, positive prevention plans. And we'll let Michael tell us a little bit about that.
You bet. So this is a proposal to approve a new health curriculum. There's a relatively new law, the California Healthy Youth Act, which combines HIV education with comprehensive sexual health education and also adds some new elements and language to sex education in order to be compliant and have curriculum to help us be compliant with this new law, which impacts grades 7, 12. We do need new curriculum. The process for choosing Positive Prevention Plus has included the junior senior high school administration and staff in looking at a variety of options. And ultimately they've chosen Positive Prevention Plus, which is a good choice. It's a curriculum which was developed in collaboration with the CDE and the Red Cross, and it's quite prolific in its implementation across the state. So it's a tried and true curriculum. And our teachers will receive training from the organization prior to implementation. That's all I have unless there are questions.
Anybody? No? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve our health curriculum for grades 7 through 12.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Okay, 9.9, revised memorandum of understanding with Calistoga Associated Teachers, CAT, regarding COVID-19 pandemic and school opening during 2021 school year. To you, Michael.
Sure, this is an update to our original MOU for reopening of schools, which I think you'll see come back probably repeatedly as changes to the law take place and as we update our agreements with CAT. There's only really one change this time, and it has to do with the mask requirement. The original mask requirement from the state was that students in grades 3 through 12 would wear a mask and students in K through 12 would be optional. The California Department of Public Health has updated that so that it's all students will wear a mask. And so as a result, we've updated our agreement to reflect that change. So that's what we're bringing forward today. And just a heads up that we may end up bringing it back again if there are future changes.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for the hard work on that. So I am looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the revised MOU with CAT. Thanks, Rudy.
Second.
Thanks, Steph. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect.
Aye.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, moving forward, 9.10 MOU with Calistoga Associated Teachers, CAT, regarding the 2021 retirement resignation incentive. Michael.
Yeah, and I think we had discussion with the board on this, but we are bringing it back as an MOU with CAT. This is a retirement incentive that we are offering to our potential retirees, which offers essentially an annuity based on 85% of their final year's salary for teachers who are 59 years or older and have 10 years or more experience in the district. And again, I think we've talked about it, but this is a kind of a joint communication from CAT and the district regarding a mutual understanding that this will be offered.
Great, we did talk about that. Does anybody have any additional questions about it? No? Okay, so just making it formal. So I'm looking for a motion to approve 9.10 MOU with CAT regarding the retirement resignation incentive.
So moved.
Second.
I'll take Indira. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, coming to the home stretch here. Okay, 9.11 MOU with California School Employee Association, CSEA, Chapter 555, regarding the 2021 retirement. Oh, so same thing, but with the classified employees.
That's correct. I don't have anything to add. It's the same proposal, just an agreement with CSEA to offer.
Great. So looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steph. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so now we're moving forward with approving our board policies and administrative regulations. And these are the 4 that we reviewed last meeting. And I doubt there's any questions on it because we've already talked about it. So unless I'm wrong.
There were no changes, Julie. Thank you.
Perfect. So just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm going to send you guys some caffeine. All right. So 10.1 is just looking at future board meetings. So April 12th, May 10th, June 7th, June 14th, just like always, to make sure that we have a quorum. We just want to make sure that everybody can meet them. So if there's any conflicts, let Aaron know. Hi, Matt. And 10.2, tentative future agenda items. We're going to have an LCAP update and a facilities master plan update, which is exciting. So we'll get that date on the books as well. And I think we said March 29th, right? So Aaron, just come up with the timing on that. I know I'm only one person, but it would be better at the evening for me. So, okay.
All right, I'll have Paula contact you.
Okay. And we don't have any need to reconvene to closed session. So we are looking for the most favorite motion.
I move to close the meeting.
Yay, Jeff. And second?
Second.
Oh, everybody just wants to stick around because this has been so much fun. Huh? All right. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for all your hard work. We are killing it as a district during this crazy time. And I am like so proud of everybody. So thank you. And all in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Thank you.
There you go. Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
all.
Okay.
Good night.